Not every sign is divine direction. Some synchronicities are distractions dressed as destiny. And sometimes those distractions text you at exactly 11:11 p.m. Humans, by nature, are wired to seek out patterns. A part of our pattern seeking DNA is part survival and part meaning making. We are wired to find the meaning in our interactions and our relationships. So once the mind becomes emotionally invested into an outcome, it starts to filter reality for everything that confirms that. So a person can interpret repeated songs, numbers, dreams, tarot pulls, random encounters. They can interpret all of that as proof of destiny while simultaneously ignoring evidence to the contrary. And that evidence is oftentimes more louder and more concrete than the actual sign or synchronicity that's confirming your bullshit. And that's where people drift off into self-deception. Before I go any further, this is a no judgment zone. I do like to linguistically season my words. Please don't ever feel attacked. I have definitely been guilty of this. And at the end of this brief explanation, you'll actually hear a story time of my own signs and redemption. Okay. A healthy sign. A healthy sign usually clarifies what your intuition and your grounded judgment already suspected. An unhealthy sign usually tries to overpower discomfort. It tries to bypass uncertainty, or it tries to rationalize something that does not hold up under the scrutiny of facts. If someone consistently lies, disrespects boundaries, creates instability, or triggers chronic anxiety, no amount of synchronicities suddenly transforms that into a healthy situation. That is the self-delusion. If an opportunity requires abandoning your ethics, if it requires abandoning your intuition, if it requires abandoning your self-respect, then repeated signs don't magically remove the consequences. If you have to constantly decode reality to maintain belief in something, that is a compulsion rather than a confirmation for guidance. There should be an important distinction made between intuition, projection, trauma responses, wish fulfillment, and symbolic interpretation. And what people often like to do is they like to make a goulash of all of the aforementioned. Intuition is quiet, it's steady, it's not frantic. It doesn't require you to force a narrative. Compulsion, compulsion, on the other hand, that type of shit tends to create urgency, anxiety, hypervigilance. And all of that leads to selective interpretation. And I cannot ignore the social aspect to all of this. Because as an individual, we are responsible. But I can't ignore the online culture that rewards the inflation of meaning most times. So now every inconvenience becomes a karmic attack. Every coincidence becomes a twin flame confirmation. And that environment over time can weaken discernment, because what's ambiguous or what is obscure or not clear gets treated as certainty. And let me go ahead and walk this back. Let me go ahead and walk that fact back. Yes, there is an online culture of this that definitely rewards inflated meaning, right? But long before this online culture, there was a culture of the devil made me do it, spiritual attack. This has been going on, and it is ongoing in church settings as well. So I correct myself, and it's not limited to these online spaces. But I don't think that all synchronicities are meaningless. Sometimes they genuinely help people pay attention. They help people reflect. And they help people course correct. Symbolism has always been psychologically and spiritually valuable. Humans, since the beginning of time, have always used symbols, rituals, myths, and even omens to organize the meaning of things. The issue is how we prioritize it all. Discernment has to supersede fantasy. Behavior has to supersede symbolism. Consistency has to supersede intensity. Reality has to supersede projection. A sign should never demand that you abandon your capacity to evaluate what is actually happening in front of you. With that being said, let's get into the story time about my personal run-ins with some uncanny ass signs yesterday. Yesterday was Memorial Day, and I wanted some ribs, and I didn't want to cook them. And I didn't want anybody's ribs. I wanted some particular ribs. And I am from a place where if you drift off into the inner city of that particular state and you go into certain areas, this is well known. You go into certain areas, you are likely to find someone at the corner of a busy intersection, even at the corner of a residential street. You can find people with barbecue drums and people selling rib dinners. I wanted one of them. Okay. And I had to go in the hood for it. I drifted into a well-known area, which also happens to be the stomping ground of someone that I am no longer in contact with, for very, very good reasons. However, the entire time I'm in this person's area, I am uneasy because I feel like I'm uneasy and I'm hyper vigilant, okay? Because I feel like oh my God, I can see this person at any time. And if I do, I want to see you first so that whatever direction you're traveling, I'm going the other way. It was decided. Not really anxious, like I wasn't uncool or no shit like that. Like I hadn't lost my cool or nothing like that. But it was just, I had a heightened level of awareness of where I was. And I was more hyper vigilant than I normally am when I'm driving. That said, I am almost in the clear. I am almost away from this person's area. And this black truck pulls in front of me. Didn't cut me off. He had space. Pulls in front of me, right? Black suburban truck, all tinted windows. Vanity license plate. Vanity license plate. Here's the first sign. The vanity license plate, the name on the license plate was my nickname that I gave to this person. I bullshit you not. Bullshit you not. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's crazy. Immediately. Now, let me say this. People always say, God is testing you. God is going to send you this test or whatever. I think that if you think that God is all knowing, then logically, you know that God is really not testing you. Logically, you know that God already knows the answers. So then, whatever the circumstances are, a test, if you want to call it that, is for you. It is a reflection for you to see how far you have grown. Back to the story. All tinted window swings his ass in front of me. I noticed the license plate right away. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm not freaking out. My first default, my immediate thought. You want to talk about circumstances created for reflection. My immediate thought was, your ass would have really been eating this shit up some time ago. That was my immediate thought. My immediate thought was to defer back to old me. And it was disappointing. There was a feeling of disappointment and shame because I'm not that person. I'm not that person anymore. I had to deal with that too. But I'm like, girl, you really would have failed for this shit. That was my first thought. All while, because all the windows are tinted, all while looking completely uninterested at this vehicle. I'm driving. It's obviously in front of me, but I'm not gawking or anything. I don't care what's going on in this vehicle. And even if it was that person, that shit is crazy. That shit is crazy because what possesses you to get a vanity plate on the nickname I gave you in 2016? Like, that was a new truck. That was a new truck. And I know that he's never had that license plate before. Anyway, there's more. There's more. Stick to the story, right? So I'm like, oh man, you really would have failed for this shit, right? Oh wow, simultaneously not falling for the shit. I'm realizing, oh no, you really over this shit for real. Like this is not even love, hate. This is indifference. This is just, I really just want to get away from this vehicle at this point, right? So we get to the intersection, we get to the light, and I need to make a right. Now, I am in the outermost left lane, and in the two right lanes are the turning lanes, right? Mind you, the truck is in front of me. We are both driving in the lane where you go straight ahead at this light. I turn on my signal. I turn on my turn signal because I want to make a right. I want to get into one of these lanes and make a right. Guess who also suddenly decided that they wanted to turn on their signal and make a right? But the person is driving so stupid that now I know. If you ever had a dude review Mac on you, you know what I'm talking about. The dude is driving so stupid that I know he's review Macking because he's trying to from in front figure out which lane I'm going to get into, right? So I'll play the game. I kind of stuttered a little bit just to, just to see. That car stuttered a little bit. Anyway, he gets into the far right lane. I get into the second one from the right? The one on the left. Mind you, black truck, all tinted windows. We get to the light, and his truck is ahead of mine. He is a little more pulled up ahead of to the light than I am, almost at the corner. He rolls down his passenger window. Now, if I would have looked in that direction, which is we're talking about all peripheral pimping I'm doing right now. If I would have looked at that direction, we would have made direct contact. What you need to know about the situation is I didn't care who it was. It didn't matter if it was that person or another person. It didn't matter. I wasn't making eye contact. I wasn't stopping. I didn't have any I didn't have any interest in doing so. But then I'm noticing because now he wants me to come neck and neck with him. I'm noticing you could have been went. The way that I'm turning, I have to make a U-turn, right? The lane that you're in, you're supposed to turn on the inside. You could have been went, but you didn't go. Anyway, I make my turn. I make my U-turn. I look back over. That dude turn into a building and turn right back around, which let me know that he was definitely rear view pimping for real. The point is, there was a time in my life where that shit would have sent me back into a karmic cycle. There was a time in my life where I would have interpreted all of that against my better judgment as something that was meant to be. No, it was a reflection for me. It was a reflection for me to see where I was with it all. Because you can talk as much shit as you want and with as much conviction as you want. It's easier to stay in hermit mode and away from circumstances that trigger you. But when you have to go outside into the real world and deal with real people and circumstances and consequences, you get to really see if that shit you've been talking with so much damn compassion is for real. And I'm telling you, I meant that shit. I meant that shit with all my heart and soul. With all my heart and soul, I'm over it. Hallelujah. And so, collective, my business, which is pretty normal, ends up being a message that was instructed to share with the collective. Every sign ain't divine. You cannot allow signs and synchronicities to trump your better judgment, to trump your intuition, to allow it to forgo the good intellect that God gave you. We use them all together. Don't allow your lack of self-respect to keep you in positions and in relationships that are ultimately there to harm you and destroy you. I'm sorry if y'all hear creaking. At some point, I got up and started pacing the floor. That's what I do when I get into it real good. So I love you, collective. That has been your channel message for today. And I will see y'all in the next upload. Bye.